folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. Some of you may recognise this overflow from the actual intro of last week's video when I was actually up at the Backwater Dam and me and Highlander went and chilled out at the riverside. But in today's video I'm going to a fresh location to check out a piece of land that we've never seen before on the channel and hopefully document a wee bit of history along the way, and here we adventure. So the cool thing with this dam here of Backwater Dam, built in 1969, or opened in 1969 I should say, it was obviously constructed like the previous couple of years, but the cool thing is there's a documentary with this place getting built on YouTube, and I have linked it at the end of videos before on my channel when I've been around here, but today I'll leave a link at the end of the video when the thumbnails pop up. One of them will be the construction of this place, which is pretty cool. It's on the Scottish Water YouTube channel. So in the previous years I've documented where the schools, houses and farm crofts have been in this area before the days of the dam, but also back in the day the old main road used to go in a different area, because nowadays the main road's at the other side of the dam. And I mentioned it in the last video when I was up here how the old main road had actually come through where the water is now. And a place I've never documented at this side is the area where the main road kind of cuts down towards the water, and that's where I would like to see that on today's video at some point as well. There's always so many nuggets in Scotland to be recorded, little historical details of a location, sometimes little things that's like history lost with the construction of a dam like this. Check out this crazy beetle right here, folks. Hello. There's so many creatures out just now, folks, because it's the height of summer. Like ants and stuff as well running about on the road. Everywhere you look, just crazy creatures. Look, a spider. I don't know if that even comes out. It's a tiny little freaky looking spider. There's just so many beasts out. I was going to bring the mountain bike out today, but sometimes you just end up cycling through about a million midges and it's not very pleasant. So I thought for this adventure I'll just go on foot, have a bit of fun, and document things we've never seen. And it's amazing once you look a bit closer in Scotland, there's always so much going on, so much nature and history all in one place. Look at this, folks. Look at the size of that beetle. He's massive. I remember a few weeks ago in one of my videos we saw a shrew. That beetle there is the same size as a shrew. That gives you an aspect of the range of Scottish wildlife that you see, the size of some of the creatures. The beetles can be little but also massive. So check it out, folks, this is the point on the road here that last time I was on an adventure with Highlander we actually came up that way from the beach, whereas this is the track here. I'm going to punch on further down. Here we adventure from this point onwards on today's adventure. It's lands that we've never explored. And it's always interesting if you've never been somewhere, you never know like what's round the corner. It's interesting when you didn't kind of lie the land. And it's cool to imagine in the 1950s the vintage cars would have been coming round here. Fields would have been all the way across here to the rolling hills you can still see in the distance. The sound of the seagulls across the water today is incredible. Now and again I can hear these sheep. And from this higher part, this is quite a road up here on the side of the waterway or the side of the dam, but you can see the old main road that used to come down there. It's a crazy scene from this side. It's maybe too far to even come out on the camera, but I was thinking there'd be more of an obvious track where it joined this one, but it looks like now I'm actually further up. Whoa, there's a bee or a wasp buzzing me right now, folks. That's what happens if you stop in Scotland. Nature comes to see what you are or what you're doing. But yeah, I thought there'd be like a junction or something else up to this road. Who even knows what we're going to find? This is actually a decent road here for a walk. So this is mad, folks. I've just literally passed like a little picnic spot and stuff at the path's edge. There was folks sitting here in a picnic, so I didn't just record the area as I went past. Yeah, this landscape is just magical. It's such a good road. I can't believe I've never even been up here all the years I've explored around Backwater Dam and other areas. Check it out, I've just come through this boundary here on the path and it says on that sign, path to Glenisla, 3 miles. And yeah, it looks like a pretty used pathway right here, and I'm continuing on. There we go, folks. I've just crossed another boundary there in the land, and now we're in the land of the sheep. It looks like this track here. Whoa, there's another bee here buzzing around me, wondering what I am. But yeah, this track here looks like it cuts to the right and goes up through that gate, and I'm going to just have a look up there, see if there's any history. I can see old wall lines and boundaries which will outdate all those forests and things there. There has been some forestry operations as well. So much going on in this piece of land. There's actually a wee gate down there, it looks like takes you to the beach, but the landscape between it is just so overgrown. I think if I go on the route back, I'll probably come round that way and just stay on the beach. We're so far from the dam, you can't even see the dam in the far distance of the glen. That's the kind of adventures I love to come on, punching on all these little roads here that we didn't ken much round the corner. Years of history, layer upon layer. Some of the dykes are better kept, other ones far gone, just a slight remains of the history. And it'd be cool to find remains like an old Croft or whatever. When I saw that bunch of trees over there, I was thinking it looks like there's been something there at a certain time. But who would even know? Sometimes they used to plant a few trees like round their farm, and then years later, that's how it would look once the wee Croft's abandoned. Anyway, let's punch on. I'll update you once we're probably at the far side of this bit. It looks like the tar surface here disappears, because up there, it's just pure grass. I love this scene in Scotland, these little peaceful roads that kind of weave their way through landscapes like this. Obviously in the winter we'll go on more extreme adventures into the overgrown terrain and stuff, but in the summer, this is what I love, just a paradise scene of Scotland. I love it when there's either like the sea or a river or a loch like this. It adds another element to the adventure. It is pretty windy and stormy this weekend, that's why we've been actually pretty lucky today so far. I think that part of the track was pretty much blocked from the trees. I think the direction the wind's coming today is kind of up that way, and the hill was blocking it a bit. But now and again I do get a bit of that breeze at the top end of this loch. And it's going to be cool to see what's round this corner, folks. This is an area that we've never been. It's so interesting. I've probably said that many times on the video already, but I'm always so curious and excited what's round the corner in places like this. Here it is, folks, the end of this tarred road. This is a special location. This is where they ended the tar operations, but it looks like the track continues on. It must be that track that the sign was saying down there. I forgot about that. So there is a proper track up here. It's obviously slightly more overgrown here since there's no tar. The summertime conditions, the grass and the bushes and stuff get out of control in Scotland. The sheep here will be keeping the ticks down to a certain degree in this land. Yeah, I'm just wanting to go up here and see what's here. Look at these sheep. This is probably the first person I've seen since the farmer. Hello! Sometimes when you say hello to an animal, it reacts. Whoa, there's a bee. I didn't mean to... I just about swatted it accidentally. The bee will be thinking that I'm intentionally trying to swat it. There's so many animals like flies and bees and creatures. Yeah, look at this. There's some kind of sign over here, folks, and it looks like up here there's actually been something built. Let's see if there's anything written on this sign. Traditionally in Scotland, when I go to look at a sign, it's no longer a sign, and you can see that's the same. Look, it's just two posts. At one time there was something written on there. Oh look, the track. It says the track goes that way. Because I can see the sign at the top of the hill. This track here looks more appealing because it's shorter grass. It looks so overgrown going up towards that woodland. Yeah, let's have a wee look down here first before I go further up the path. So I think at a certain time here, right enough where these trees were, there has been something constructed here on the land, because I can see stone outlines even here in front of me. There's a square of stones, and then at this side a perfect wall. And often it's so many hundreds of years ago they were doing things in places like this. It's hard to even see the remains of it at all in the land. Sometimes just a faint wall line or whatever. But also so much done since those times, it kind of covers it up. It becomes harder to see. Yeah, so check this out here, folks. There's an old wall line, almost like a yard of some sort, and There's been more at the hilltop here. It looks like it's been used as a bit of a modern day farm tip or whatever. That's an old trailer upside down there. Yeah, what a piece of land. This wall and stuff would have been from before the times of the Backwater Dam. All this would have been like fields and stuff. Yeah, the path sign's just there at the top of the hill. I think I'll just go up to here and get a decent look around the corner basically. See what we're dealing with, folks. I'm wanting to just read the land, see it from a distance and get an idea of the best route to go to see the coolest things. Check it out, folks. My path here's brought me around the edge of this sheep field. Look, there's hundreds of sheep here. They're all kind of sheltering under the tree. And I'm obviously giving them respect, keeping them chilled out. You know how it is, folks. We're always appreciative of the animals and the wildlife and the landowners as we go through. So this is basically taking me out here, and I can see the edge of the sheep field down to there. There's kind of like a plantation. Some of it's clear felled, other bits is just trees. So it is mad just to see this wee corner of Scotland right here. And the water's so low in the dam. On a previous video I've explored that whole other side, and there's like a farm building stuff, and you can still see slight remains of it now on the hill. Oh, I can see another walker down here. There's literally somebody else walking. I was saying it's so remote and far out, nobody around. And there you go, boom, somebody out for a walk. I'm thinking I'll go down to the water's edge and punch on further around the top of the dam, because I'm wanting to keep on documenting areas that we've never been, and I don't want to leave a small bit of the land unseen. Look at the sheep just chilling. They're loving it under that tree. They're scratching their head. I've got a plan of action here, folks, because I've looked at the land from up here and it's super overgrown between me and the beach. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the field here, and I think there's a way I can go down onto the beach area to get around outside there. So yeah, let's get on with the mission. So from here you can actually see there's been a wall line there, and there's been more construction in that area, and then the piece of wall with the abandoned trailer that we documented, I think there has been items or structures maybe for livestock or sheep back in the ancient times. Look at that, the sheep are just chilled up here, eating the freshest of Scottish grass, living their best life. Yes, folks, we've just made it out of that grassy hellhole there, which was the field, and now we're on to this picture postcard scene on the beach. Even on the beach, like, there's loads of little plants and stuff that still grow in the summertime. You would think down here it's just the sand and the rock, but there's so much always just going on in each place. Different types of plants or even animals kicking about down here. Look at this is a view of the Backwater Dam that we've never seen before. And the adventure's not over, because we're away to literally go around here and follow it as far as we can, basically. On the way around here, I'm going to keep documenting anything that's like a wee historical nugget that's only seen when the water's this really low every few years. But look, on the land where the grass is, you can't even see the remains of the wall. But look here, you can actually see it once you look down further into where the water is. It's an ancient wall which has been on the land from a crazy old time. And it's only because of the dam that you can kind of see stuff like that. Look at this item here, folks. It's an old chain, or an old bit of a chain of some sort, all rusted together with the water. Check it out, folks, where we are now. You can hardly even see the main dam. We've kind of come around this corner into this little top section of the waterway, and it is interesting to see what is round here. Last time I went this far up the dam, I was over at the other side when it was super low. So here's another wee detail from probably the times before the dam was here, and there's like a line of stones going out. Some of them is like super big. It's maybe been an original waterway or river flowing down through. Those stones there maybe marked the edge of such a waterway. I need to be careful as well. If I go too near the edge of this, it's like quicksand. It's super dangerous and soggy. But I'm wanting to go further down and have a closer look at certain areas here, certain points in the land. Yeah, there's some massive creatures underfoot. I've just been keeping an eye down the whole time. Loads of beetles or spiders, other mad beasts. Somebody's been sitting out here having the tinnies. There's a couple of tenants' tins sitting. Maybe a wee camping spot or whatever in this area. Look at this, folks, the landscape's kind of changing now. We're coming so far up here to the top of the loch. It looks like there's a bit here. I might have to navigate around this tree if I want to go further around. But there could be a potential that I'll be able to go right up onto that kind of grass area at the far side by the trees. This is super risky right here, folks, because the mud is really soft. And look, the trees are half blowing down here as well. So this is what I promise you on the channel, folks. It's always the realest adventures. Little situations like this where I hate to navigate crazy bits of land just to get to another amazing place. And it's amazing being able to like throw the camera on along the way on my adventures and tell the wee story of Scotland, or just see what's round every corner. So look at this, folks. In front of me here, two waterways actually come down. One of them looks like it comes way further up there, and the other one comes through that direction. And then from there on down, it's the double, well, it's the single waterway, I should say, with double the flow of the water. The reason surfaces like this can be dangerous, folks, if you ever see it where it's cracked, you can actually be walking on it thinking, oh, that's okay, and then the surface layer actually goes through. Oh look, all those little black beetles came out of the one bit. When I stood on it, it was like the crack moved, and then all the beetles just came out. Look, they're all living in the cracks. Look at this, folks, an old bottle lying out here on the water's edge. What does that even say? Look, 1878 Barcelona. 1876 Barcelona, folks, an old bottle. It's probably not that old, but it'll be a proper ecosystem now for little creatures and stuff. They'll live in it. It would have been somebody at an older time probably chilling out there, throwing it into the water. And yeah, I'm absolutely gassed. The conditions today are so warm and extreme. I can actually see there's been little trees here planted at a certain time, look like a wee plantation, and all of them look like they've been cut off. Whereas it would have probably stopped us from being such a saturated area originally, but then I'm not sure obviously from what time scale we're seeing those little trees. Yeah, there's just like a mad forest the whole way up here, and I was just always wanting to keep going a bit further and a bit further, but sometimes the landscape itself can be a limitation. I have walked so far from the lower car park. It has been a fun adventure so far. So here I am, I'm actually further now up, just about to the top where the fir trees are, and the grass is getting even more long, and pretty much the landscape's getting harder to walk through. I was just looking over here to see what this was, and it's like the sun over in the trees, maybe an old sign or whatever warning about the dam waters. Wow, what a place, folks. And once again, we've brought you a wee nugget, a wee corner of Scotland. Look at this. When I turned around I was just thinking, just about missed this. I wonder what this has been at a certain time. Because this is such like untamed, muddy land, it's often unusual to get a little built structure in it. Or it's sometimes easier to see what's been built and what's natural on the land when you see something like that. Mission update, folks. The rain is now on. It's kind of just spittering lightly, but I'm now making my way back round, and I'm going to go a different way. When I came in, I came up through that field, that wee abandoned croft that we documented. There's no much of it left, just that a few faint wall lines up beside those trees there, so you get an idea where we are now on the loch, or the Backwater Dam shores. And I'm just going to try and stick to the water's edge and just kind of punch round where that incredible beach leads its way right back, and I'll just keep you updated on what we see. It's been amazing today to come up this track and to get an idea of the land beyond where we had been before. And wow, you can imagine how deep the water might be when you see this slope leading into the water. It's pure darkness down in there, and every now and again I keep slipping down towards it, and the lower down you go, the more slippy it is. So I'm hoping this kind of area levels out. It's pretty overgrown at the top of the hill here, and I'm always kind of half avoiding the tick situation through like long grass. Whoa, look, my foot slipped there, folks. I'm not wanting to land down in. I'll go to this other level up here. But yeah, this is just a madness. It's often crazy where there's not a path, like going for an adventure. Scotland's perfect for it. Yeah, look up there on the ridge, you can kind of see how it has been built. because the sheep and that were under the tree and asleep or lie down, I wasn't really wanting to go and push in there too much and upset them. That's how I kept it brief at the top of the hill. But that would be a wee nugget of history up there, something that was constructed back at an ancient time. It was probably abandoned long before even Backwater Dam was a thing. Like some of the other crofts we document on the channel, they're often abandoned since the 1700s or before it. Places like that may have been thriving in earlier times, 1600s and before it, and that's mad to think of that ancient history in Scotland, in places like this. Mission update, folks. It's now raining hard and it's super windy, and I've come onto this pinnacle of land that sticks out into the waters of Backwater, because it looks like there's something maybe been here at one time in the land. Wow, this is incredible. The conditions are so changeable in Scotland. Sometimes literally every 5 minutes it's different weather. Wow, what has this been? It could just be the way the bushes and shrubs here are actually growing. What have we even got down here, folks? This is cool. The wind is making it super choppy, and I do apologise for the audio. Yeah, when I saw this piece of land here, I was thinking maybe there had been a wee building here constructed, but it doesn't look like it. So because of the extreme windy and rainy conditions that occurred, I've actually cut back up the same field here, back to the front of this old croft. So I'm thinking, I was just like theorising to myself, I'm probably going to be more sheltered up on the road, and that's why I made the decision to come back up this way. But I think at an ancient time this has been a proper track here, leading past the front of this old building. Well, look at that creature, it just flew away when I turned around. Well, when I turned the camera around. There's some madnesses out here today, like animals. The shape of the most tame thing that you encounter. But yeah, there's been some wall lines up here, more here. And let's punch on along. I'll maybe have a quick look a bit higher up on this path. So I remember years ago I used to look over and see this kind of area and imagine, well, I used to think, is there something built there? And I was always interested. That's why it's cool today to come and see that there was actually stuff done. You can see the clear construction here of a wall as well. And yeah, let's take a wee walk down these trees. Just since we've come so far into the land, folks, I love exploring every inch of a site. That's how initially I wanted to push on right to the top as far as I could on foot. And then I went into that kind of grassy estuary area that wasn't as much fun. This is like an old farm croft ruin. Look, there's something sticking out the ground, look. It's been something, a bit of machinery or whatever, and look, it's properly in there. The tree has actually grown over the top, and that shows it's been hundreds of years since this was even a thing, or like since that even landed there. It's maybe been thrown over the wall between the trees and the little field area here. Look at that, an old bit of pottery, a bit of china. That's super interesting. It just shows you here. It's actually a really nice cool breeze here. What a madness. I just go left and right through the land, not even knowing what I'm going to see. And in here there's actually remains of bits of slates and stuff, which show that these buildings may have had roofs and stuff. Yeah, the wall line actually keeps running down that way. Oh, this is interesting because it actually heads down towards the beach area. There's been a proper little road down here at one time. Check this out, folks. Wow, I'm pushing through crazy terrains. Yeah, look at this here. The wee wall comes down and this has been a wee road. And you can actually see both sides of it, the dike lines. What do we have down here? Look at this. This has all been constructed, I'm sure. Or something's happened here. It's like there's been a waterway under this. So many stones has been built and things around here. Wow, I was seeing a good few wasps flying around me. I reckon a lot of the big stones, even beyond the trees here, were actually put here. There's been so much done. It is almost like a wee forgotten piece of the land. If you could turn back time before the days of the dam, you can kind of imagine this little track here leading up and down in front of where I'm sitting. Imagine the horse and cart trundling its way up through the land. You would have probably still had the same noise of those sheep making their call as they're grazing the lands. And yeah, the trees are kind of planted right on the old wall line. And because the sheep make it a home, it's actually, there's no much grass down here, which makes it ideal for me to here we explore. Some of these trees are beech trees and they'll be really ancient. Yeah, I'm keeping the camera rolling. The viewers are along on this adventure with me, and that's what it's like on this channel. Exploring Scotland like never before. Places that others probably don't even take a second look at. I'm trying to see the history and imagine it back in the days. Whoa, see that wind and the storms? That was why I kind of cut back up to this side of the glen. I was a bit more covered from the trees and that. And yeah, look, this has been a camping spot as well for somebody. But you can see how the original wall line here has actually gone back up that way towards the top of the hill. Yeah, it's amazing to see the trees here have been planted around the perimeter. And yeah, that track, I'm not sure if it followed around the side of this wall and went that way, or it may have actually continued on down other fields into those lands beyond. Yeah, the wind just picks up now and again, it's really strong. And then the next minute it's totally fine, the weather's bra. And then the next minute, boom, it's horrible again. What do I have here, folks? Look at that. It's an old jar. That's like one of those old ink pots or whatever. Or maybe somebody's been out here having a ham and mustard sandwich and that's been their old mustard pot. Yeah, that's interesting. Little things like that are just lying out here in the grazing lands of this hill. And it kind of shows you things have been going on here for hundreds of years. Not only with the wall remains, that you can think of them when they were freshly constructed. Also, you can imagine the people maybe hanging out here having picnics over the years or camping. Yeah, the trees have just fully grown into the dike line. And just imagine what old vehicles may have been trundling up through here. Yeah, that is super cool. I love the way that's constructed. And actually the road goes up that way, and then look, the wall line continues here, so it shows there's been a central section there. Yeah, it's just mad to think what may have been going on in places. Obviously this time of year it's hard to see a lot of the outlines in the long grass. Maybe I need to come back here in the winter, because I believe this has been a full-on croft here at a certain time. I think there's more stone outlines or wall outlines to be found in this land. And I love to see that. That stream literally comes out of the ground there, and it must flow down underneath the land. Often the little streams were a fresh source of water for the people that stayed in these places. Here we go, folks, look, more pottery. It's actually got a bit of a pattern on it. And a lot of farms or crofts used to actually have a midden, and that was where they would throw out stuff they didn't need anymore in the farmhouse, or if things got broken they would just throw it into the midden. And an area like this may well have been a farm midden. Yeah, that's cool. And that's the wee stories of history that I love to tell, or I like to uncover the wee nuggets, because every year stuff like that disappears more and more. The greenery and the shrubbery covers it over. And look, see this mound in the ground here? This has been something as well back in the day. So I think maybe at a later time, this road here has been built up through the croft, because I can see the old wall lines leading through. But that's interesting, because that corner there is actually fenced off. I was just going to go up here to the top of this road here at the corner to get an aspect of the croft from this angle. When I first saw it, I wasn't so sure it was even a croft, but there's actually been so much going on, because at both sides of this path I can see old wall lines, and it's like the sun there as well. I think that could have been a farm dam, and then I believe there may have actually been even a water wheel here, believe it or not, back at an ancient time. Yeah, the signpost up there says path to Glen Dam, and it's kind of just aiming, it must be there. I was thinking originally that it was up through that forestry area. Let's have a wee look here and see what's going on. Look at this, folks, more remains here of an old edge. It's like that area there's been levelled. It's like there has been a serious amount done on this piece of land at an ancient time. Sometimes in Scotland the piles of stones can be from them clearing the fields for like grazing lands and things, but then other stones you can see are like a clear forum, like a wall line or an old building. And it's cool to uncover each thing and try and decipher what we're seeing out here. It's all stuff it's like we're seeing it for the first time ever on the channel, and it is just little madnesses like this that I just love. And I'm sure there has been some sort of little dam over there, some sort of waterway, and that may explain why there's a fenced off area there. There might be a deep hole. They used to do so much with water back in the day, all the way for like 1800s, and a lot of the stuff they had at the farm was powered from the source of water. A lot of their heavy machinery for the grain and the barley in the early days was powered from the source of the water flowing and powering their mill, powering their wheel. This is absolutely incredible, folks. Look at this. All I'm seeing from here is a big dark hole, so let's document it. I think it's related to what I was saying as a dam further up the hill. I'm being obviously safe here, making sure underfoot I'm sorted out. Look at that. That must be a giant hole related to something. Look, it's built on the far wall. See, if you went in there, it could be super soft and you would fall away into a deep hole. I think it is definitely related to what I was saying as a dam. There's probably no point in pushing up to it today because it's just basically like a big hole dug out. At one time obviously looked after and full of water. And I reckon down here there's probably a hole. If you dug that out, there would actually be a way of the water flowing under the ground to that side. Where we saw what looked like a bridge, there's just millions of midges at this point right here, folks. I'm not even joking you, like, millions is not even an exaggeration, folks. The amount of midges flying around today, it's like swarms that's so thick they're like clouds. And like, I'm not even hanging about to record that stuff. Like, I need to check myself for beasts after being in that long grass. Check my trousers. That's how I've got my socks tucked in, obviously, to my trousers. Or I should say my trousers tucked into my socks. So in case there's any beasts crawling about in that long grass. Wow, what a land. There's the dam there. You can hardly even tell there's anything there. Look at that creature. Some kind of stripy beast, folks. There's just so much. It's because I went under that tree to look at that big hole in the land. But that proves once again, we kind of uncover the layers of the history as we go. If the rain hadn't come on and I hadn't pushed back up here, I never would have discovered that. It's actually been a croft for sure. And it's had a dam and the source of water flowing through there. And somewhere about there's been a water wheel. I reckon they've had the water going through under the ground there and then coming out at an area down at that side. And it was cool as well to document how the wee track had gone down there. And just imagine, at the time of all that, there would have been no dam or waterway here. That there would have been the biggest dam in the area, and it's probably like about 20 metres by about 40 metres or whatever. Nowadays it's this incredible scene in front of us. Yeah, here we are, like we're back in the land of the sheep at this side. There is such a strong breeze, and there is rain, and I do apologise for that in today's video on the lens. What a place. I'm actually blown away that I found that, because that is an old croft. Like I say, years ago I remember looking over and thinking, oh, I would love to get to that side and explore because I think there's a croft. And that was actually the reason originally that I pushed right the way around the water's edge at the far side, like 6 months ago or a year ago. My original intentions were trying to get to that spot. So today it's kind of like I've uncovered a bit of history I had forgotten about, and we've been able to document it for the world to see. And now we've made it back to this kind of tar surface, which should be a pleasure to walk on. See, the funny thing, folks, I'm sort of glad I didn't bring the mountain bike, because those big gates are actually locked and I would have had to somehow get my bike over the top of each gate. The sheep up here as well, they're proper chilled. You can see the hazy mist in front of those trees, and that's actually the rain which is on just now. In Scotland you can get some mad storms in the summer because it's actually like 20 degrees Celsius, which I believe one of my viewers was saying is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's really humid storms that you get, and sometimes you can get thunderstorms or just mad rainstorms, but it's like humid rain, 20 degrees Celsius rain. And it's quite welcome if you're on a walk, but as long as it doesn't come on too heavy, it's fine if it's just on and off. And this cloud's been kind of lingering around here. So on the last video on the channel, when me and Highlander were hanging out at the Backwater Dam, we were actually way down where you see that corner sticking out at this side. So that gives you an idea of how far I've actually walked today, to go beyond these hills and then to document the Croft. Originally I says it's unusual where these trees are planted, it's like there's been something there. It turns out there totally was a bit of history hidden within that area of land. Check it out folks, the picnic bench is here on the way back, and I just took this opportunity to have a wee rest, and I was literally just taking a little bit of gravel out of my shoe. I don't even know how that happens. As I'm walking along, I end up with bits of sand and gravel and stuff. It's just a madness. But yeah, what a cool place. You can literally walk up here, have a little picnic at this bench, and it's such a picturesque landscape. It's actually protected from the trees, so even on a wee bit of a windy day, it's quite a nice area. And yeah, this is the first time I've been up this road. I've had so much fun today poking about and finding that wee like Croft remains, so ancient and so far gone, but there was still that few remains. And then just to see how far up I could actually get on that road there, or not even on the road, on the edge of the water. As I'm walking along, there's just swarms of midges, like right here. They're probably too small to come out on the camera. But another thing, there's like loads of flies as well, just flying about. Sometimes if there's puddles on the road, the flies seem to be attracted to that sort of area. But as the day goes on here, we're past midday and all those sorts of little beasties are out in full force. And in the land there's so much colour, not only the willow herb at this time of year, but also the foxgloves. Yeah, I wonder if I could have made a wee try. It looks like there's been a track takes you down to the water's edge. Who even knows folks, I might just stick to the road now. I'm sheltered from the wind up here, and that's why it probably appears on today's video as if it's not even windy. But yeah, it's been extreme weather this weekend, so we've made the most of the conditions to actually be out and see what we've seen. Right folks, I'm nearly back to my car. As soon as I punch on round that next corner and down the next little bit of road, I'm back to my car. So I'm going to end this video here. It's been amazing to see a piece of the land that I had never documented before, and here we adventure into this wild land of Scotland. You know how it is, we were away around that far corner, further than what we could see for here, and that bundle of trees on the hill is where the old Croft remains actually is, and it's crazy to see how far we've come. And hey, these wee adventures week on week, seeing new things that we had never seen. It's just amazing. Scotland's got so much to offer, and I can share it here on the channel. And hey, these wee adventures. Anyway, I'm ending it here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.